Welcome, Business 630 online students. This is Professor Hassey speaking to you again from live and in color from Claremont, California, this very warm Sunday. Well, this week is an introduction video to our week number 2 for the period of Monday, June 14th through June 20th. This week's title is Risk and Return. We're going to be studying that in preparation for our case study number 1, which is next week on chapters 4 through 7, and it'll be due Sunday, June 27th. But you do have some graded work this week. First of all, some of you still have to post your bio and your portfolio spreadsheet to the discussion forum by tonight, Sunday, June 13th at midnight. For credit, so please make sure you get those postings done. Also, I did respond to some of your postings who have already done that, and some of you need to resubmit your portfolios for a variety of reasons. The main reason is you have to make sure your portfolio totals $100,000. Also this week, you have student and professor meetings where you're going to meet with me for 5 or 10 minutes during the course of Monday through Thursday. I have posted the schedule. Please create a forum, pick a time and date, and then we'll look forward to talking with each one of you individually this week. If you cannot meet that schedule, please let me know via email and we can find another time for you to meet with me. But it is a graded work to make sure you meet with me this week to go over any concerns or questions you have in the early goings of our course. So we're talking about risk and return this week. Here's a little introduction video to that topic.
Understanding risk and return. Looking around us, we find that different financial products, such as fixed deposits, bonds, and shares, give different returns. Why do the returns differ? To answer this, we must first understand the idea of risk. An important principle of investment is higher returns entail higher risks. Risk drives the returns on assets. Fixed deposits earn the lowest returns because they are considered the safest. Shares have the highest expected returns as they are the most risky. Investment-grade bonds have expected returns lower than shares because they are less risky than shares. In investing, there is no reward without risk. If an investment offers higher expected returns, it will generally have higher risk. Suppose investment A has an expected return of 3%. If investment A performs better than expected, actual return will be above 3%. If it performs worse than expected, actual return will be below 3%. Actual return will be 3% only if investment A performs as expected. The presence of risk or volatility means that the expected return can differ from its actual return. The difference between actual and expected returns is risk or volatility. A simple statistical measure for risk is standard deviation. The larger the standard deviation, the greater the overall risk of an investment. Compare investments A and B, which have the same expected return of 3%. As B has a lower standard deviation than A, it will give a higher return to volatility ratio known as the Sharpe ratio. In investing, we aim to maximize the Sharpe ratio, which maximizes return for the same risk, or minimizes risk for the same return. Further, to be successful in investing, you must understand your risk appetite. Assess your risk appetite on 3 dimensions: needs, ability, and willingness to take risk. If you plan to retire by 40 You would need to generate higher returns that will allow for early retirement. If you have dependents, your ability to take risk is likely to be lower than someone with no dependents. If you have the need and ability to take on risk, but find it unsettling after buying a risky stock, then willingness is low. You may want to consider investments with a lower risk profile, such as investment-grade bonds. Imagine investing as choosing a roller coaster ride. If you choose a wilder ride than you can handle, you are likely to want to get off the ride halfway, as it is scary when it dives. Similarly, if you have investments that are too risky for your risk appetite, you may panic and quit them prematurely when the market dives. The key to successful investing is the ability to stay invested. If you get off the roller coaster halfway, you could lose your investments. By staying invested, you may also ride out market volatility and business cycles. In the next video, find out more about portfolio diversification.
Okay, well, that video kind of took the perspective of an investor, but in this class, we're taking the perspective of the finance management or the corporate finance team. And it's pretty similar, it's just on the other side of the street. The company, your corporation, the CFO, the CEO, have to be aware of the risk of their company in the marketplace. If investors think it's a risky company, then in order to attract investors, either in bonds or stocks, they're going to have to pay a higher return. Higher return is expensive. The higher the return and the greater the expectations, that means expensive capital, and sometimes that you'll lose out on profitability and cash flow if you have to pay those expensive dollars because your company is high risk. Thus, the financial management of a company is to find cheap money and keep their credit, keep their reputation, keep their ability to attract capital as cheaply as possible. And that's what we're going to talk about in our lecture this week. Also, a couple things to note in our Blackboard. Remember, some of you now are getting your grades for the first week discussion post. If you go to the report card area, you'll now see your grade in that area. You can click on it to get the details of it, but that is where your cumulative grade average will appear in this course. Also, remember, don't forget to finish up the discussion post for this evening. All right. Also, don't forget to also sign up for a date. As you can see, some students have already given me their dates and times, so make sure you do that this week. It starts tomorrow. It starts on tomorrow, Monday, June 14th. This is for a graded assignment as well, 5% of your course grade. So make sure you make those appointments and see me this week. If you go to week number 2, you'll also see that discussion forum. You'll see uh, our agenda for this week, and also we'll be putting our introduction video and some files that we'll be looking at in my lecture, which I'll post on Tuesday of this week. So risk and return is our analysis this week and our discussion, but we're also going to add in the time value of money, bonds, and stocks from our first week's chapters 4, 5, and 6 to 4, 5, and 7 to make sure we get prepared for our first casework, and we'll talk about that in our lecture on Tuesday as well. That work, though, is not until week number 3. So you have an introduction to our second week of corporate finance. Look forward to seeing you on the internet this week. Look for my video on Tuesday and have a great week. And if you need any answers or questions, I'll talk to you this week in our professor meetings. Thanks, everybody. See you then.